In the beginning, there was only the beauty of nature. Then came the era of man. Cultures were born, civilizations rose and fell, and wars were waged. All the time, humans evolved into a more greedy, isolated, and destructive species, forgetting what life is about. After centuries of the human race, people began to have ideas of an ideal life. This ideal life was thought to constitute peace, equality, and freedom. The ideal life, or the good life, is not for a single person or social class, but for everyone. Everyone must be equal in this good life, for it is universal. It is not bound to race, gender, religion, or age. The universally applicable good life is built by peace of the mind, equality in the world, and connection to nature. Through these, one may reach the desired happiness without hindering and restricting another's life. The world has become so focused on material gain that people have lost sight of what the purpose of life is. The purpose of life is to experience what life can throw at you firsthand. The purpose of life is to be happy, and happiness cannot be achieved through material gain, but through happiness of the mind. It can also be called serenity, which is peace of the mind. For everyone pursuing the good life, the biggest key is to achieve a balanced existence. The Greeks called this sophrosine, the pursuit of a balanced existence in the universe, spiritual and corporal, mind and body, the middle path. The Greek philosopher Epicurus had discovered one of the keys to living the good life, which was finding pleasure in non-materialistic things. Epicurus urged the cultivation of passive pleasures, such as literature, recollection and meditation, personal friendship, and the enjoyment of nature. The act of finding pleasure in material goods only brings disappointment and trouble. The secret of happiness, you see, is not found in seeking more, but in developing the capacity to enjoy less. Therefore, you will find peace of the mind and happiness from passive pleasures that will also hold no one else back from achieving serenity themselves. During the 1700s, a huge emphasis was placed on nature by the Romantics. Nature was the most important thing because it was where one would truly be happy amidst the evolving world. Epicurus urged the cultivation of passive pleasures, such as the enjoyment of nature. One of the ways to have peace of the mind is to be in nature. In nature, you can find pleasure and serenity in many things, such as skiing, climbing, kayaking, surfing, and any other thing that you may find pleasure in. Even just being in nature can influence you in the greatest ways. You don't need to be on a desolate mountain in a blizzard trying to make a first ascent to connect with nature. I vividly remember an experience from nature, one that changed my life. It was when I was on a short trip to the tip of Denmark. The town, Skagen, was a moderately small town considering that it was at the skinny tip of Denmark. In the mid-afternoon of the first day, I went to the very tip of Denmark. It's a narrow beach, about 100 or less meters wide and 200 meters long, with the water pushing on each side of the peninsula. This was where the tides met, and the cool sea breeze changed directions every few minutes. When I was there, I remember thinking how much this was better than being in a civilized place. There's those places on Earth where when you get there, you get a feeling that this is where you were meant to be. This is the feeling I got when I was there. Later that night, I returned to that peninsula. When I got there, the sun was just setting, and I couldn't think about anything except how peaceful I felt. I knew at that moment how I wanted to live. This is what nature can do to you. It influences you in the greatest ways. It brings you serenity and balance. It shows you the true meaning and purpose of life. It brings forth your best self for the better of all. The Greeks and Romans each attempted to create this good life for their people. However, in each case, the principle of equality was lacking. The good life that the Greeks made and the good life that the Romans made were only for the elite class, the rich and not the poor. While trying to achieve this good life, they also had around 8 million slaves. One must not be hindered in one's attempt at creating a good life. To obstruct each other is against nature's law. To have equality, all should follow the golden rule. Undo to others how others would undo to you. Every individual, moreover, if he or she submitted himself or herself to an honest examination, would produce the same conclusions, that it is wrong to kill, to steal, to hurt another human being. For a good life, everyone must be equal and must not harm one another. People need the freedom to do whatever they want as long as it doesn't obstruct each other. People must not be hindered in one's attempt at creating a good life, must be universally applicable and shared by all. Everyone should be equally judged. Race, religion, gender, or age does not make one person better than the next. For the good life to be universally applicable, everyone must be equal. The relationship between government and people in the good life should be a democracy. However, the government should never be more powerful than the people. Laws also ought to be designed for no other end ultimately but the good of the people. If the government fails to fulfill the end for which it was established, the preservation of the individual's right to life, liberty, and property, the people have the right to disband that government. The people should always have more power and freedom than the government for the preservation of the natural rights of the people. The freedom of the people will ensure that no one rises up to control the people, henceforth keeping equality throughout the people. In the good life, one needs serenity so that he or she is always at peace. However, serenity cannot be attained in the confines of cities and towns. People live in towns in the hope that they will find happiness in material gain. They need to have connection with nature and find passive pleasure in it. Peace of the mind and happiness is found in nature, for nature brings out the best in us. If everyone were their best self, then the world would be governed by reason and people would be equal. Everyone must be equal so that everyone can attain this good life.